Welcome, everyone, to episode 448 of Just Joshing. I'm your host, Joshua Pantoresco. I write stuff in podcasts too, and today, Bret Scheurman joins the podcast. Bret is an aspiring comic book creator. I'm actually kind of touched by this story in particular for me because here I am trying to get working on drawing and doing all these new and different things, and I'm doing some of the same stuff Bret himself has been doing for the last 2 years. We started talking about his celebrity book, and then we evolved into actually his comic, which I think is a really cool thing, and I'm really happy he's doing it. So let's just get into the interview, shall we? And then we'll just talk a little bit afterwards. All right? All right.
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
So, when I always do these podcasts, I always ask one question usually to everybody involved, and it's the following. If you have anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good. You got nothing. I don't believe that. I'm sure you got your own laundry list somewhere. But see, we're a live podcast, live audio here. You're actually one of my final pure audio only interviews here, and I just figured you gotta give the people something entertaining. I mean, you can make something out. You draw for it. You got an imagination. I know you do. I mean, I'm sure you could have made something up there.
No incriminating information,
Nothing. All right. Well, that's fine. I guess the fifth is an important amendment. How you doing tonight, man? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah. So, like I said, you draw. It looks like celebrity stuff a lot. So, how'd that get going? Like, how'd that get started?
I started drawing 2.5 years ago.
Oh wow.
So I'm new to the whole thing, and it was all because I met two local comic book artists at my local comic book store, and just watching them draw, I was inspired right there. I just fell in love with it. So I went home and I wanted to draw, trying to do it myself. So I started out simple with the bat symbol. So I went home and tried that first, then I did Superman symbol. Then after I did a couple of different symbols, I upgraded to a simple character head drawing, so I did the animated Batman. And then with practicing every single day, I've gotten good, so when I came to the celebrity thing, I just wanted to see what more I could do as far as adding detail to it.
Okay, so you still draw comics? Do you still draw comics and stuff, or are you...
I still draw the comic book characters and everything. Yeah, I've even created my own character.
Very cool.
And as you know, I have a book of celebrity drawings that are modern and their own characters, like Adam West, Yvonne Craig from the 1966 Batman, and I'm selling that book. And when I make enough money, that money is going to go towards finishing my comic book that I've been doing for 2 years.
Okay. So what's your comic about?
It's called Green Tempest. It's an alien from another planet called Tempest, and they're a friendly species of alien, except for one character that just likes to cause a bunch of havoc and destroy things. His name is Hailstorm. And so Green Tempest is trying not to fight Hailstorm. He's trying to want to spoil for anyone that may listen to this
Okay.
audio when the book comes out. Hopefully soon.
So then, is it safe to assume that you're going into celebrities? Was it just basically a means to help pay for your work? Is that the only real thing?
It started out as a means to help pay for the book the comic book that I'm trying to do. But the more I draw the celebrities, the more I'm just falling in love with that. And I want to do that as much as I can.
Okay. So, what do you like to draw? Like, what's your favorite ones to draw? Which one? Like, what was it that made you say, yes, this is what I want to do?
Well, I have one over here. Let me grab that one that I just recently did because I was on a podcast with some friends of mine called The Kitchen Killers, and we were talking about this. And one of the hosts brought up the Spider-Man, the very first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. You still there? Or
I'm listening. I'm just listening to you, man. Just to tell your story.
You weren't moving, so I thought maybe I lost you.
No.
Anyway, it was the first Spider-Man movie, and he said the guy that played Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe. So that kind of got me interested there. I wanted to see if I could draw that one, so that's what I just recently did.
Well done.
And
well done. That's awesome.
that right there is when I got doing this, I thought, I'm really enjoying this one. Because I think that's the most fun I've had.
That's your most recent one, but you said you fell in love with it. Was that the one that made you fall in love with it, or was it earlier stuff?
Well, I did do a Michael Rooker. I did two Michael Rookers. I did Yondu and I did Merle. So I thought that was fun.
Okay.
So and seeing his reaction when he signed one of them and took one of them home, that kind of got me thinking, okay, I want to keep trying to do this. But it was this one here that made me think, this is my best work.
Okay, so you everything seems very comic book related to you from what you've shown me so far. So my question is, okay, you obviously want to do comics. I think that seems to be your first, not your true love, at least your first love, right? So what was the book that hooked you, that grabbed you and made you say, I want to do this?
It wasn't really a book that I bought that made me want to do this. What made me fall in love with comics itself was I did see my first time going into a comic book store was I walked in and I saw a comic book called Batman 66 because I'm a huge Batman fan. So seeing that book, and it had the Adam West character and it had Burt Ward character, so that got me interested in comics. But what got me really a passion for it was when I was just sitting here one day practicing my drawing. This was back before I got as good as I am now. I was still kind of crude with my shapes and the way they looked. But I created Green Tempest in that day. And just sitting there, seeing this character come on the page. And right then I thought, I want to turn this into something.
Okay. So, going back into what we were talking about there, the Green Tempest, is this like a mini-series? Is this an ongoing series? Is this...
It's going to be ongoing, yes. I'm going to try to branch it out as far as I can make it go.
What do you mean by that? Like, is it just the stories you're telling there, or just...
I'm going to see how many stories I can make that will mesh together with other stories. It's starting out now. It's starting out in their home planet. to see where it branches out from there as far as his story goes.
So you don't have a full like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 plotted out. Like you don't know where it's going to end exactly at this moment in time.
Well, I have book 2 planned out.
Okay.
But as far as how it branches into book 3, I really don't know, because I do have a character created for book 3.
Okay. So then in that case, I'm just saying you're a pantser in terms of the industry, in the sense that you kind of just draw as you go. Kind of is that an accurate description of your process when you construct the story?
Well, I'm not the one drawing the book. I just created the book, and I'm working with a good friend. I'm working with the guy that inspired me to get drawing.
Okay.
I started drawing, so he's doing the pencils and inks for the book, and then we have a colorist and a letterer.
So you're writing the story then. Okay.
So yeah.
So you're then I guess I should rephrase the question. You're more of a pantser in terms of the sense of you're kind of just writing the story as it goes.
Yeah, and I'm the writer and creator of the book, so I kind of will see how as they're helping me grow with this being my first book and helping me shape the story, I'm going to see how that transitions throughout.
Okay, so this is your first, like, that's your first book, then, in terms of your first comic, your first story that you're trying to tell. Then, like, this is your very first one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
I've never done any book until Green Tempest started up.
So
And this book that I've got published is just an art book, so there's no story to tell there.
all right. So I'll ask this question then, and then we'll go a little deeper. Why didn't you draw the book? I'm actually kind of curious. What?
Because I've never done panels, so I'm not to that level that in my opinion and my confidence, building up my confidence, I'm not there in that level there I can draw the panels myself.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask this just then the people you're working with, are they just more experienced at putting comics together than you are, or are they just buds?
He's got more experience from drawing comics. Yes, he's basically been drawing comics his whole life, probably.
Okay, I'm just kind of just putting this together in my head here. Okay, so you made a decision. Honestly, dude, it takes guts to put anything out there. So kudos to you for that. But it sounds to me that based on what I've seen of your art, I'm just being blunt. I grant you, one picture does not tell a story in comics. It doesn't. But you're definitely, you have the chops for it. I mean, at some point, you should just give it a try, just because I think.
Yeah, I'm looking to learn more from him as he goes along in the process, so I can learn myself how to do these panels.
So
that maybe in a future book somewhere, whether it be Green Tempest or anything else that I create.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask this, and we're gonna go a little deeper here. So why do you feel you're not ready? And this is just I'm not trying to like cast this. Like I'm very curious of what this feeling is, because I can't draw worth a lick, and I'm actually drawing a comic right now. I don't know what the hell I don't know, and it's actually about me being such a terrible artist. Like I'm literally putting together it's this dragon, and that's been in my head for years, going, "You're scared shitless to draw me," and I really am scared shitless to draw him. Honest to God, like there's a legitimate fear here because I don't know what I'm doing. But that's why I'm ultimately doing it, because I don't know what I'm doing. It's the only way I'm going to learn how to do it, right? Even if it's you know what? My drawings are going to be crude compared to you. Are going to be crude cave drawings. they're going to be terrible in comparisons in terms of that, like the technical quality, right? Now my scripts work around that limitation, okay, for a start, but again, I've figured out again what I can do well, which isn't very much, and what I can't do well, which is a lot, and how to actually turn that weaknesses into a strength. You're way better than I am, and I feel like you're selling yourself a little short, and I'm kind of curious as to what you feel like. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm not letting it stop me. So why like, you have the chops. I think you do. So, and again, learning from people that have done it, I totally get that. But it sounds to me like I think you're farther along than you think you are.
Yeah, as far as drawing characters, yes. But as far as drawing characters in a certain setting, I've not had a lot of experience with that. So, to me, that's kind of an intimidating task. Plus, you got to do it in such a small area of a page.
Oh, absolutely. Comics is so. I figured this out because I have friends that have done screenplays and I have friends that do comics. The difference between a comic and a storyboard is very tiny, but the difference is simply this: scripts, screenplays, storyboards there incorporate motion into their story. Comics do the same thing, but it's different. Comics is all about how the passage of time changes a story, right? How a moment, like you can have no dialogue in this one panel, and between these two scenes, the words, and then it goes blank, and then you see the reaction afterwards, and you create a moment in time, literally in a comic, which can be really powerful and profound. If done well, it can be funny, it can be all those things. It sounds to me like you, is that where you're lacking confidence? Like you don't know, like you haven't, since you haven't done it, you're afraid you're going to mess up. Is that kind of what?
That, and like I said, I've not really mastered doing it in such a, you've got this giant page, but depending on how many panels you have to put on that page as to how small each panel is. So I haven't really mastered drawing to that scale yet. Okay. I'm still drawing rather big.
I'm not drawing big. I mean, there's lots of people. Like, who do you read? Like, what comics do you read? I'm just curious.
I've read Batman. I've read some Iron Man, some X-Men, some of the Wolverine books.
So you love the classic superhero stuff then, like some of the really classic stuff. Have you read anything like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Have you read anything like, we'll say, Rachel Rising by Terry Moore? Or have you read anything by Scott McCloud?
No, like I said, I'm kind of new to comic books, so I'm not found any of those books yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a recommendation. If you don't mind, I'm gonna make a recommendation for you. Look up a book called Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. I think, and I don't think, like, for writers, even if you're just like, you know what, I'm not comfortable about this, I'm just going to write comics, you still need to check out that book. That book breaks down the psychological storytelling beats of a comic book. It is one of the smartest, how to put a comic book together from top to bottom. That is the book to learn from. It talks about everything from facial expressions to color to scene settings. Scott McCloud is an amazing teacher, and I actually got taught by him a little bit. And when before the pandemic, he did a traveling where he would teach courses for a weekend. And that was my last course I did. I was the only writer in the group. Everybody else was artists, but I learned an awful lot because you get into a mind of an artist, how they look at things and see things. But you also again, comics is visual. Comics is all about the visuals. Also, at the end of the day, and you can do but it's much like any other kind of story in the sense that it's all about what you show your audience, and more importantly, what you don't show your audience. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So,
I think so.
yeah, okay. Does that hit? So I'm going to recommend that book for you because I think you need to read. I think everybody that wants to do comic books should read that book. Everybody, because it's literally one of the books. Now I can recommend some other classics for you, but I'll let you. I mean, read whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. If you're new to it, you like the superhero stuff like Batman and Wolverine and the X-Men, and they're all great books in their own right. So I'm definitely not going to fault your taste on some of them. What's your favorite stories? Honestly, from them.
Well, I kind of like the Batman Sons of a Father series that I read. It was a series with Batman and Deadshot.
Mm-hmm.
And it went into how I think Thomas Wayne was kind of this bad guy.
Okay.
And then it went into why Deadshot was killing the people that he was killing in Wayne Enterprises, and like he was trying to get revenge for his family.
I see. So basically where they both are similar and yet different. Because Deadshot just kills people and Batman will not kill anyone. It's his one line he won't cross. But it's ironically they're not that different in terms of their motivations. Deadshot does what he does for his family, and Batman in his own way does the same thing.
Right.
Okay. So family is a big theme for you? Family is a big theme for you?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of what inspired the story for Green Tempest.
Okay. So is Green Tempest and the antagonist, I can't remember, sorry, his name right off the top of my head, are they related?
Yeah. Yeah. They're brothers.
That's good drama. Classic drama right there. So, is that the twist? Did I get the twist?
That was kind of the twist, so we kind of did a spoiler.
Yeah, it's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
That's alright.
Well, no, because honestly, it doesn't really matter what the trappings of the story is. What matters is can we understand the characters? Can we empathize with the characters that are being presented on the screen? It doesn't matter. Literally, look. I wrote a story once upon a time about a jar of dirt. Just because I just want to see if I could make a jar of dirt interesting. Right? Or at the very least, everything around it interesting. And so I did it, just to see if I could. And I did, and Duncan Dilkowitz is in my head. He's the dumbest person I've ever created in my head. Him and his jar of dirt got into all kinds of merry adventures. Ladies and gentlemen, no, I will never publish that story. It was just for my own amusement. But, pardon?
Sorry about that. Somebody came in.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, it's all good. But I mean, family dramas have been a big part of literature forever, since the dawn of time. So, I mean, it makes sense because we all have family we love, and we all have family. I mean, hate to say it, but we've all been hurt by our families too in some way or another, and it's something that we can all kind of relate to. So, family drama. So they're brothers, okay? So it's good conflict. It definitely is a strong first act at least. So would you like a second piece of advice, or am I going too far? Would you like a second piece of advice, or am I going too far? I mean,
sure. Give me all the advice you need.
Okay. If you're going to do a story, like a good comic story, and if you're looking to, I'm assuming you have aspirations to get into the big two. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. Is that fair?
I'd like to, if I go anywhere, I think I'd like to go to Image.
Okay, you want to go to Image. Okay. Like, say, Shadowline books, like Shadowline, or just, like, you want to be, like, the next Rob Kirkman? What is Bret's master plan for world domination here?
Well, I don't really want to compare myself to him, but I'd like to aspire to be the next Todd McFarlane.
Okay, so Todd McFarlane's a big, okay. So, put your idea down. So today, here's the advice. This is what I would suggest. With all your stories, have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You don't need to have all the other details in your head, but have that as kind of like your baseline. Because what a lot of comic professionals care about is, can you tell a full story? Can you do it? Right? Because if you can do that, you can deliver. Marvel, that's what they care about. If you can deliver a full story from beginning to end. Now, you become rich and shameless and you want to take months off at a time and do other things, the comic companies will hate you, but they'll put up with it because you're worth money. But if you're trying to get in, you'll find that if you have a beginning, middle, and end, the story beats will come easier to you because you'll figure out, okay, how do I get there? And you can still do a lot of interesting stuff. Even knowing those things. Like, okay, so right now I'm writing a novel about parallel universe dragon slaying. I'm literally at the scene where there's a scene I've been building towards, and it's coming to a head in the next 2 chapters. And I'm playing with her in the back. So what I look at is the different ways I can tell a story. Right now, she's about to be thrown into a prison in a parallel universe dimension. Right. She's about to be, but she's laughing the whole time because it's like the story I'm telling there. In one sense, is the weight of her burdens are finally lifted. She finally was allowed to stop doing something that was killing her on the inside. Now, that's the story I'm telling. So how do I tell that story inside a trial? Right? So the one option, here's an option, I can go with temporary insanity. Because she's kind of crazy. At this point, she's completely crazy. She's broken. She's completely crazy. It's easy to play that. But I think the more interesting one is she's trying to project that crazy, that fearlessness, that defiance. Because deep down, she's scared to death. Okay, she got rid of the albatross that was on her neck. Now what does she do? That's a more interesting story than if I just have her go nuts.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right? That's a more interesting story. So, with you, it sounds, first and foremost, even if it's an 8-page story about a jar of dirt, you should do an 8-page story about a jar of dirt. See if you can tell the whole story from beginning, middle, and end. Sounds silly, I know. But what you'll find is you'll learn more about storytelling beats. And if it's an 8-page story only you and maybe a handful of people will see, you can learn from that. So then when you take it to your big story, your dream project, right? You'll know at least some things not to do, right? And you'll be like, okay, I'm a little bit more confident. I'm a little bit more confident that I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm okay with it, right? I think that's the secret to everything is we never fully know what we're doing, and I just think sometimes we just do and things happen. That's maybe me. I don't know about you, good sir, but there's just a point where I'm confident enough to risk being foolish, and I think you have to be okay with that yourself. It sounds to me like you're still not quite there, but when you do get there, you'll be free to do the things, like tell your story, now an idea where your story is going, and then don't be afraid to look foolish doing it. Listen, you're going to see the worst drawing dragon in history within a few weeks, I promise. There'll be terrible drawings, but it will work. I promise it will work.
I bet you they're good.
No. My stick figures revolt, dude. My stick figures legitimately want to go on strike. How dare you draw me? And he's laughing, ladies and gentlemen, because he could just imagine this in his head. And
Nah, I think you're over. I think you're underselling yourself.
maybe I am. We'll find out in the days and weeks and months to come whether I am or not. But the thing is, here's the important part. It's not whether I'm underselling or overselling myself. Here's the important part, okay? I'm willing to do it. And I'm willing to look foolish. And I'm willing to not to be judged. And I'm willing to be like, this might be the worst thing I've ever done. But what can I learn from that? So that the next thing I do is better. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
Right? And so, I mean, we'll plug your celebrity book at the end because we haven't talked about that very much. But it sounds to me that you needed someone just to tell you, go tell your story. And I'm telling you, go tell your story. You know what you want to say it. And don't be afraid. Hey, listen. And even if it's not the greatest story in the world, it doesn't have to be. Right? It's your story. You worked your ass off and you finished something. And no matter what, you'll be proud you can do it. And the fact that you've done one story will impress people at, say, Image or Boom or IDW or Marvel or wherever you want to look at. Because you finished a story. That's important.
I like that advice.
Yeah, I see that. So listen, I'll draw Terrible Dragons. You do that Jar of Dirt story, right? And we'll meet in the middle somewhere. And you'll be like, you tried. I'll be like, you tried too. How does it feel? You'll be like, I feel good. And I'll be like, I feel better. And we'll be like, and we'll shake hands. And then you go off and tell your great comic stories because the other characters will come into your head. And you'll be like, I can do this. And really, that's what we need more than anything else. You can do this, man.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, we'll talk brief now. We'll do the wonderful plugging of said celebrity. So you need more zillions of dollars to make your comic book. That's your man. So that's the whole goal. So. Do you know can you tell people where your book is available? You can buy it? And can you do that?
Right now it is in review still because Amazon is having glitches on their end. But in the next few days it should be live on their website.
Alright.
But I've got a bunch of books coming to me personally.
Cool.
That people can order through me personally. And as of right now, I'm selling them cheaper than what's on Amazon.
Yeah. So.
They can get them for $15 right now through me personally, and they're all signed that way. If they get them on Amazon, they will not be signed, unfortunately.
Do you have a website where people can actually order it?
No, but they can get me on my social media stuff.
Okay. Can I give you a third piece of advice?
Yeah. I'm trying to find out if you're going to tell me to get a website. I'm trying to figure that one out.
Okay, so you're working on that. At least you know you need one. That's the important thing. Okay.
I'm trying to figure that out.
Okay. I'd recommend WordPress. You can just use a basic template and get it done. Your Tumblr is actually pretty good too for what you're doing. So those are my advice suggestions. You do you, man. Okay, so what do you think, Mr. Bret? Do we have an interview?
I think so.
Okay, you think so? Okay, so how about this? We'll do it like this. You plug your celebrity book, you plug your comic, and you plug how people can find you. In that order. You ready?
Okay.
Go. The floor is yours.
Alright. I have a 40-page book of celebrity artwork, and on the cover is from the 1990s TV series Flash. You can reach it. For me, personally, on social media, it's Scheurman's Art Design is the
What's it called?
It's going to be called Celebrity Art by Bret Scheurman.
Okay.
So that's kind of a simple way to find it there. It's just Celebrity Art by Bret Scheurman.
Excellent. And your comic?
My comic that I'm working on currently that was slowed down because of the pandemic is called Green Tempest. I've been working on it for 2 years. And because of the pandemic, it basically came to a halt. So with each sale that I make on this book, I'm working towards finishing that comic book. So I'm hoping that if I don't have it done this year, I'm hoping to have it done by next year, 2021.
All right. Give me a second here. Let me help you tell your story the way you want it told. If you're in the genres of science fiction, fantasy, thriller, historical, or young adult, I have services that can definitely help you. I can produce, narrate, and master said audiobook so it's ready for Amazon and any other software you need. For more information, see my website at jpenteloresco.wordpress.com/audiobook services. You worked hard to create that story, and I'll work just as hard to make sure it's told in the right way.
So it's amazing to me. Bret is a cool dude. Bret, you have a really good comic idea. Don't quit your dream. I admire the fact that you went and taught yourself to do very cool things. So, Bret, thank you very much for coming on my show. Guys, the celebrity book information is going to be in the episode description. If you want to help him achieve his dreams, by all means, go buy his comic, buy his book. He is, Bret was really cool that he actually came to me to come on the show, and I thought, why not, right? Just a guy just doing his thing, and what's not to love about that? It's one of the foundations the show was built on. And so, Bret, when the show goes to a talk show, you're welcome to come back. I did 101 Tales tonight. I've been doing a lot of interviews last little bit. I was on Mark Leslie's podcast, Dark Reflections. I just did an interview with Faye Arkin on her website. That's just the first part of that just came out. And I did a special event at 101 Tales. That was fun. That was really cool. Got to read a little bit from both Alice Zero and the Cloud Diver, which was a lot of fun. I can't wait. Now that I actually have the internet in my house, here's a little secret. I haven't had the internet in my house for 7 months. When I first came to Windsor, there was no way to get the internet in the house. Everything was locked down and stuff. And for a little while there was just this fear that I wasn't going to stick around. And even if I don't stick around, the current internet deal is very versatile, and I like that. But to make a long story short, I'm ready to go to the next level now. I can get more creative and release more things. I literally came up with the idea for the next great short novella I want to do. So it's literally called Hit the Lights. And I think it's a really interesting viewpoint of prison, because the weird thing I've observed in this last little bit, and it's how my mind works, is that essentially we all are in a prison of light. And what I mean by that is we can communicate with each other and do all these wonderful things provided the lights are on. What happens when the lights go off? And no, this will not be my fault. It's literally what happens when the lights go off. Just one person. And only one person. I'm really excited to tell that story too. So, I mean, I'm always thinking and doing and growing and achieving. And I want to do more. Because while we are in this time, this is the time to produce and become who you want to be. And that's what I'm going for. So, 2 more episodes to go, and then the talk show begins. So, guys, thanks for listening to this episode of Just Joshing. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. My Patreon page, patreon.com/JustJoshingPodcast. If you want to actually support the show going forward, if you want to just throw in $1, $1 will go a long way. And it keeps the lights on, and it will keep me going with that way. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe and enable notifications. Get my books, Alice Zero and, Cloud Diver. They're available now. Take a look at some of the other things I'm doing online. Say hi, show your support, spread the word. That's the important part. Beyond all that, stay inspired. Keep doing your thing. And I'll see you guys very, very soon with episode 449.
Josh.